Graveyard book, there was a hand in the darkness and it held a knife. I think it's one of the best first lines in literature. Thank you very much. No, I labored long in a weird kind of way over that first 2 or 3 pages, the first scene with the jack, which I wrote and then put to one side and didn't do anything at all with for years. I went off instead and wrote The Witch's Headstone, and then came back to, and barely remembered having written it, and there it was. And it was almost as if it had been left for me by elves. When can we expect to see you again at DragonCon? Oh, probably eventually. The last time I went to I went to a few DragonCons in the early 90s, which I quite enjoyed. And then I went to one in, I think, 2000, which was so tremendously messed up. Just in terms of organization, it was filled with things like having people say, okay, and I'd say, what am I meant to be doing now? They'd say, now you're waiting in your room until we call you down. And I'd say, well, can I go and do anything else? I'd say, no, you have to wait in your room, and we'll call you down, and then you're going to make the surprise entrance on this thing. And I go, okay. So I'd go and I'd wait in my room, and the hours would go past. And then eventually we'd phone down and say, what exactly is happening? And they say, oh, we wonder why you didn't show up. No, your thing happened, that went away. And it was so tremendously screwed up. It turned out they kept trying to present me with a Lifetime Achievement Award, which they managed never to present to me. And turned up a month or so after DragonCon. It still sits on a window ledge, and people say, what's that? I say, that's my DragonCon Lifetime Achievement Award. Which, honestly, I was, 39, I felt it was a bit early. But it was such an amazingly shambolic experience that it definitely didn't leave me going, when am I going back to DragonCon? I've got to go back and experience more of the same. So, I don't know. It may happen one day. Eventually, that's the wonderful thing about, the human memory. Eventually I'll forget. And somebody will say, come back to DragonCon. I'll say, yeah, DragonCon. And then I'll be sitting in my hotel room waiting for something to I read your National Novel Writing Month pep talk. I know a lot of people actually pretty anti-National Novel Writing Month because of the quantity over quality attitude. Do you really think National Novel Writing is a good idea for an aspiring author? Yeah. I think anything that gets words out of an aspiring author and moves them from the aspiring box into the author box is a good idea, even if it's just to show them that it's a lot harder than they thought, and maybe they shouldn't be doing this after all. Which I think is a perfectly valid thing to learn about yourself. It's as a writer, I find every now and then I'll be in social situations, maybe a plane or a dentist's office or something, where the subject of what I do comes up. And somebody will say, so you're a writer? I'll say, yeah. They say, I've got an idea for a book. Why don't I tell you my idea, you write the book, and we'll split it 50-50. And I would like all of those people to do National Novel Writing Month. I think it should be compulsory, and I quite like the idea of guards with whips. What inspired you to include Rock City in American Gods? Driving south. It was one of those things where the very, very beginning of American Gods, when it was still sort of this thing in my head, I drove south. And there was a point where I got somewhere on the outskirts of the world of Rock City. I think it may have been Chicago. And I saw my first barn with "Come see Rock City, the world's wonder" on it. And I thought it must be somewhere around here. thing where you drive for thousands of miles, going, this has to be the most amazing place in the world because they painted it on all of these roofs. And then I got there. And it was somewhere in that weird little fairy tale place where you've gone through all of these odd sort of nothing places, and then you're watching something that might conceivably be Snow White as made from animatronic things by somebody who was very drunk and very sad.